It's 1,750 points of Dwarfen Mountain Holds versus 1,750 points of Orc and Goblin Tribes in a game of Warhammer, the Old World. This is Tome in 20 minutes. A very overweight and rather unfit, but body positive dwarf king named Boomstix Glutton stands on a shield carried by two shield bearers who can't stop complaining about how heavy the king is.
It wouldn't be so bad if the king didn't have an eating disorder.
Don't say the quiet part out loud, you goblin ass cleaner. Otherwise he'll put you in the book.
I've already put myself in the book for taking this job.
King Boomstix Glutton has more runes than he has beard hairs and is surrounded by 14 long beards. Two Thanes who are also runed up the wazoo lead a unit of 16 hammerers who the king calls his diabetes. An engineer stands on a hill in the middle of a bolt thrower and an organ gun to ensure we don't get a repeat of the last time Billy played dwarves. And finally, 12 rangers stay hidden behind a hill. A unit of Black Orcs begin to emerge from the woods. Being plant-based beings, they are led by a Black Orc Warboss who refuses to eat meat. His name is Slimboar Onadiet.
Say the pledge with me, boys. I am a nice orc, not a mindless eating machine. If I am to change this image, I must first change myself. Boars are friends, not food.
Except for stinking dwarves.
Yeah, we can eat them. No, we can't. Boss is a vegan. He only eats plant-based shit.
But we're plant-based.
An Orc Weird Boy leads a pack of woke orcs who are called Orc Boys despite not having any XY chromosomes, making them Orc non-binaries. At the edge of the field, a bolt thrower and a doom diver are deployed. An Orc Shaman riding a boar leads a pack of orcs riding boars. Beside them are a unit of Orc Ara non-binaries. A bolt thrower is deployed, and finally beside them, Bob tries to steer a chariot pulled by 3 wolves.
You've driven a chariot before, right, Bob?
Stop asking me, Steve. Of course I have. When are you going to learn to trust me?
Trust you? You convinced me to launch myself out of a catapult so you could be a father to your kids. But you don't even have any kids. You left me to die at the hands of skeletons. Then you told me this elaborate story about how you fell in love with a halfling girl. But there is no way that's true. Because you, Bob, are incapable of love.
You have some serious trust issues, Steve.
Dwarfen Mountain Holds, turn 1. The Dwarf Rangers do what they do best, which is shoot and miss everything. Points well spent. The organ gun follows the Rangers' example and completely misses all of the Black Orcs, despite hiring an engineer.
Just a warm-up shot. Nothing to worry about. At least it wasn't a misfire, eh?
I have a question.
Fire away. Well, not literally.
Where did you study engineering?
Study? Ha! Studying is for elves.
The bolt thrower fires at the Black Orcs and misses. What an eventful turn 1. Literally nothing happened. Everything is still in the same spot as it was when it was deployed and nobody died. We might as well have played this game with only 5 dwarf turns. Orc and Goblin Tribes, turn 1. The Boar Boys head into the forest. The Black Orc Vegans march out of the woods. The woke Orc non-binaries that identify as boys are on a mission to cancel King Boomstix Glutton. They march while holding up signs protesting against the king's toxic dwarfelinity.
Dwarves are bad for the environment, digging holes everywhere to build mines.
Yeah, then travelling in their private gyrocopters. Meanwhile, we have to drink out of paper straws.
Not to mention they eat nothing but meat all day. Yeah, they need a plant-based diet.
Plant-based?
The Ara Boys head behind the Boar Boys, and Steve and Bob, for some odd reason, turn 90 degrees and head towards the Ara Boys.
Bob, what the hell are you doing?
Stop being a backseat driver, Steve.
The enemy is that way.
I'm fully aware of that.
You've never driven a chariot before.
Of course I haven't.
The Orc Weird Boy on a boar casts the spell causing a giant hand to descend from the sky, picking up Slimboar and his blocks and throwing them further into the battlefield. The Doom Diver launches a goblin into the air who just paints the ground behind the dwarves with his anatomy. A bolt thrower fires at the hammerers and takes out a single dwarf. The other bolt thrower fires at the dwarf bolt thrower and misses. Dwarfen Mountain Holds, turn 2. The dwarves finally decide to do something this turn by moving. The Rangers go from one extreme to the other and shoot down 4 of the woke Orc Boys. The organ gun, however, only fires off 4 shots and wounds nothing.
Well, don't look at me like that. You're the one operating it.
But you're the engineer. You told me how to operate it.
If I told you to jump off a cliff, would you do it?
The dwarven bolt thrower fires into the forest and pierces an orc through the chest. Orc Goblin Tribes, turn 2. The weird boy casts Curse of Cowardly Flight on the Diabetes. But with a leadership of 10, they aren't going anywhere. The woke non-binary orcs continue their pride march.
King Glutton Gut is a bigot.
King Glutton Gut is orc phobic.
King Glutton Gut is so fat that every time he turns around, it's his birthday. That's body shaming!
The Black Orcs cautiously approach, as do the Arrow Boys. Bob pivots the chariot.
I think I'm getting the hang of this, Steve.
Nice one, Bob. You turned left, now you turned right. At this rate, we'll be outrun by a dwarf.
I'm hiding from the artillery, Steve. Next, we'll sneak through the woods and surprise...
Sneak through the woods? We're in a chariot, Bob.
You know what, Steve? Why don't you drive?
The Orc Boar Boys gallop through the woods, emerging on the other side. The Doom Diver absolutely shits itself as the goblin is launched directly into the ground and the machine explodes. I'm not even mad. It makes sense, really. The Goblin Bolt Thrower, however, fires at the Dwarf Bolt Thrower, smashing through it, leaving it on its final wound. The Bolt Thrower at the other end of the field fires and misses everything, but the Orc Arrow Boys shoot at the Longbeards and one of them takes an arrow to the knee. Years later, he wanders around, telling other adventurers why he is no longer an adventurer himself.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
The bull-riding weird boy casts Arcane Urgency on the Arrow Boys as a reward for crippling a Longbeard, and they move forward again. Dwarfen Mountain Holds, turn 3. King Boomstix Glutton commands his forces to move forward, much to his shield-bearer's dismay.
What unit type is the king?
What type do you think, you squig gooch? He's infantry, of course.
So why is he as heavy as monstrous cavalry?
Well, that's going in the book.
The Rangers fire at the Black Orcs and manage to slay 1. The organ gun unleashes 10 shots into the Black Orcs and 2 more bite the dust.
Now you're getting the hang of it. Good thing you listened to me, eh?
Actually, I did it my own way that time.
Ah, beginner's luck, eh?
I'm not a beginner. I've been operating these things for 150 years.
Don't talk back to me.
The Bolt Thrower, of all things, pierces through the guts of 3 Black Orcs. Orc Goblin Tribes, turn 3. The woke Orc Weird Boy casts Curse of Cowardly Flight on the Diabetes. But he was just kidding.
Charge!
Bob drives the chariot around the woods and Steve fires 3 shots with his bow.
Shoot now, Steve, shoot now! You had one job, Steve.
I was aiming for the ground, Bob. It was target practice.
Why don't you try target practice on the enemy?
That's a great question, Bob. Nice one, Bob. Very nice.
I was aiming for the tree, Steve. It was target practice.
Why don't you try target practice on the enemy?
I hate you.
The Orc Arrow Boys fire into King Glutton Longbeards and pick off another dwarf. The Bolt Thrower at the opposite end of the field fires at the Rangers and misses. Slimboar Onadiet, in his hatred for meat eaters, declares a challenge against the biggest meat-eating dwarf in the unit. Which is just an ordinary dwarf, as any of them can accept a challenge. Slimboar attacks ferociously. Well, as ferocious as a vegan can get anyway. And barely manages to kill the Hammerer, and his Black Orcs slay 1 more of them. The Hammerers live up to their name and hammer 4 Black Orcs into the ground. The Black Orcs are pushed back by the mighty force of the Diabetes. It's not all bad news for the Orcs though, as the Boar Boys hack through the Bolt Thrower crew and pivot to face the Engineer and Organ Gun. Dwarfen Mountain Holds, turn 4. King Glutton and his Longbeards charge the Line Hammer of Black Orcs, as do the Hammerers.
Get out of the way, engineer! Save yourself!
As you wish.
Says the Engineer as he rolls down the hill. The organ gun pivots to get ready to blast the shit out of the Boar Boys. The highest amount of shots it can get is 20. The lowest amount of shots it can get is 4. and it gets 4. But the engineer gives the gun a re-roll ability, and now the gun gets 2 shots, which both miss. It's a dice game. The engineer at the bottom of the hill gets up and fires at the boars, but completely misses. The Rangers, however, managed to do more damage than the organ gun and bolt thrower combined, and crossbow 6 woke orc non-binaries in the ass. Slimboar Onadiet seeks to prove that vegans are superior and slaughters 4 dwarf longbeards. King Glutton Gut attempts to one-up him, but only manages to slay 3 black orcs. The dwarf BSB kills a single black orc, while the rest of the hammerers smash 5 more black orcs' brains into mush. Losing that many orcs in one combat scares the shit out of them, and they flee. Victorious, the Longbeards and the Hammerers pivot, ready to take out the rest of the army. Orc Goblin Tribes turn 4. Understandably, the Boar Boys charge the useless organ gun. The Arrow Boys fail their impetuous test and charge King Glutton Gut. The woke orcs and the weird boy charge into the far right dwarf hammerers. The vegan Dwarf Warboss rallies the remaining black orcs. The bolt throwers, unable to see anything to shoot at, move instead. Bob and Steve finally make their way towards the center of the battlefield.
We're almost there, Steve. I can see it. The tavern.
The tavern?
Yeah, Steve. We're going to the tavern.
Are you serious? We're supposed to be slaying dwarfs, Bob. Look around you. We're losing.
That's why we're going to the tavern.
The Boar Boys stomp the organ gun crew into the ground where dwarfs belong and overrun them down the hill.
Well, that's unfortunate.
What do you think happens in this combat? The Hammerers kill 4. The Orc Weird Boy casts Hammerhand and kills 1. The Orc non-binaries manage to kill 1 Hammerer. The non-binaries cry discrimination as they flee and are run down by the Diabetes. Surprisingly, the Arrow Boys kill 3 Longbeards. But the king is hungry and kills 3 Arrow Boys back, and 1 Longbeard kills another, making the remaining 6 Arrow Boys fall back into the woods. Dwarfen Mountain Holds turn 5. The dwarf orders his Longbeards to redress the ranks.
Why don't you try redressing a salad, Glutton Gut?
The Hammerers turn around, ready to face the incoming threat of the boars and wolves. The Rangers fire at the Black Orcs, and one of them takes it through the eye slot of its armor. The engineer fires at Steve and Bob, which bounces off the side of the chariot.
Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap.
Calm down, Bob. He was just doing target practice.
Yeah, and we are the target, Steve.
It's okay, Bob. He hasn't successfully hit anything the entire battle. He probably isn't even a real engineer.
The engineer takes 1 wound from
emotional damage.
Well, at least I don't look like a cross between the Grinch and a Nurgling.
Orc Goblin Tribes turn 5. The Black Orcs charge once again into King Glutton Gut and his Longbeards, while the Arrow Boys hit the King's flank. The Boar Boys march on towards the Hammerers. Steve and Bob head towards the rear of King Glutton Gut's unit.
Look, Steve, there's some dwarfs you can shoot at. Fire! You shoot like an engineer, Steve.
The boar-riding Orc Shaman casts Gaze of Gork on the Hammerers and melts a single one of them. The Black Orc War Vegan fights passionately for the environment and kills 5 meat eaters. The king and his Longbeards swing away and desperately kill 3 Black Orcs, leaving only the standard boss and war boss behind. The Arrow Boys, who have been surprisingly useful this game, decapitate a single dwarf, leaving only the king and his shield bearers behind.
Maybe if we drop the shield and run, we'll make it out alive.
Might as well accept it.
We're
Well, that's going in the book.
The Black Orc Warboss and his last 2 blorks pursue the fleeing shield bearers, and thus ends the reign of King Boomstix Glutton Gut. Dwarfen Mountain Holds turn 6. The Hammerers ram up the arse of the vegan. Oh, that sounded weird. The Rangers fire at the boars but cause no wounds. The engineer proves Steve right as he shoots at the boars and misses yet again. The Hammerers clobber the standard and boss into the dirt, leaving only the Black Orc Warboss behind. He smashes into the unit, but because of that 5-up ward save, he only kills 1. Slimboar attempts to flee from the Hammerers, but it seems that his vegan diet just didn't give him all the nutrients the body needs. And And so the dwarves actually managed to run him down and even charge into the boar boys. Orc and Goblin Tribes turn 6.
We made it, Steve. Behold the tavern.
That's great, Bob. So what are we doing here?
We're gonna load up my chariot with stolen goods, of course.
This isn't your chariot, Bob.
You think I'm gonna steal from a tavern but not steal the chariot?
The arrow boys swivel around to face the hammerers and fire at the engineer, but fail to wound. The bolt thrower does the same and misses. The other bolt thrower fires at the rangers and misses. The hammerers and the thanes hammer all the boar boys except the shaman, who kills a single hammerer, then flees. The dwarves are surprisingly fast as they almost catch him, and that is where the game ends. G'day maniacs! I'm afraid the time has finally come. It's time for me to jump aboard that shit every YouTuber asks you to jump aboard to keep them alive.
YouTube memberships.
If you want to see more battle reports that take me 25 to 30 hours to create, if you want to see more half-decent old world content that isn't boring as shit, and if you want to save my marriage because I spend way too much time doing this when I could be spending time doing other things that actually make money, consider becoming a patron of Dwainiac. There are 3 tiers on our
YouTube memberships.
The first being the Hero tier, which gets you access to 1 VIP battle report every month. A battle report only you can watch if you're a patron. The next one is the Lord tier. If you are a Lord, you get to watch every video I create 1 week before everyone else does, as well as get access to that VIP monthly battle report. And finally, you can become an Old One. Becoming an Old One means you get to name a character in each battle report we create. On top of that, you can send us an army list that you would like us to play in one of the battle reports. Now, if we do not have enough models to complete that army list, thank Gork for 3D printing. We'll print it out, we'll paint it up, we'll grow together. Link in the description.
Gross. This tavern is so clean, dwarfs are disgusting. Looks like there should be food in here. Oh, I think I just swallowed a beard hair. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was in here. Hello? Oh, my Gork.
Bob, we need to get the hell out of here right now before the dwarfs return to... Bob?
She's beautiful.
She's also not breathing, Bob. She's dead.
Don't say that, Steve. You'll hurt her feelings.
Bob, she is dead. She can't feel anything. Let's just take what we can and get out of here.
Okay, fine. But I'm taking her with me.
We are not taking a halfling's corpse with us. There's plenty of food here we can take.
I'm not gonna eat her, Steve. What do you think I am?
A goblin, Bob. I think you're a goblin. You'll eat anything.
No, Steve. She's coming with us. I'm gonna save her.
What in the name of Mork are you talking about?
I'm gonna bring her back to life from the Tower of Love. Also known as necromancy.
What the f***, Bob? You'll turn her into a mindless zombie.
I'm not gonna turn her into a zombie, Steve. She's going to be a beautiful vampire.